Hi everybody, this is Michael Hildebrand and I'm your host on the Sleeptrust podcast, where I'm talking about how to gain back trust in your ability to have a superb sleep again.
In this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast, we are going to talk about one of my all-time favorite topics when it comes to sleep, which is breath. Breathe in, breathe out. How right breathing will set you up for a good night of sleep. If you feel that you have a hard time to get the sleep that you need and deserve to become because you've got stress in your body, your mind, you might have a racing mind, feel anxious or other feelings, then breathing and breathing techniques are probably the number one thing that you want to turn to if you're looking for a sustainable, lasting, natural solution for this. So let's dive into the topic right away. Breathing has a very special role. If we have a look at all of the pillars of health, which is eating, moving, sleeping, and breathing, right? Then breathing is a thing, like let's have a look at eating as an example. You can go on for days or even weeks without eating. You can go on for days without drinking. You can go on for days without sleeping. But try to keep your breath for 30 minutes now. Try to do that. Or try to do it for even 3 minutes without being super trained or having prepared this through a breathing technique. It's not possible. We need to breathe very regularly. Breathing gives our cells the oxygen that we need to turn it over into energy through the mitochondria, right, in our cells. So we need breath, we need breathing, we need everything that goes with it. And breathing has another special point with it. Those of you who are following me for quite a while know that I'm very focused on things that we can take control over and things we can't, or that we have control over and therefore want to execute our control. And if we think and talk about sleep, sleep is an unconscious process. We cannot control sleep, and any attempt to do so typically backfires on us, right? So everything we do when we're working on our sleep has nothing to do with sleep, but with things that we can control. And if we have a look at breath, it's right in the middle, because breathing is hooked up to our autonomous nervous system, so we don't have to think about breathing to breathe. It's going to work automatically, unconsciously, but we can execute control over breathing. If I ask you, or we could do this together right now, to keep our breath for 3 seconds as an example, we can do so. We just stop breathing for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. That's possible. If we don't think about it at all, we're just going to automatically breathe. So the great thing about the autonomic nervous system is that we can observe this, right? So we know when we're feeling stressed or under attack that we're going to have faster, shallow chest breathing. We know when we're relaxed that we're going to have a deeper, slower breathing pattern. And now, following the other things that we know, as an example, that feelings follow behavior. Feelings follow behavior. So if we act in a certain way, odds are we're going to feel in a certain way. And the same is true for our body. If we act in a certain way, if we adapt our breathing patterns in a certain way, we're going to feel in a certain way. So now, let's say we feel stressed, we've got that shallow, fast breathing, and now we consciously can take control over our breathing. And we turn that pattern, flip it around to a relaxed breathing pattern. Consciously breathing slower, breathing deeper into our tummy, breathing out slightly longer than we breathe in, then odds are that we're suddenly going to feel relaxed. The stress is going to disappear. You do that for a minute or two and see what it does for you. So let's have a look at 2 ways that you can bring breathing into your life, getting rid of the stress, the anxiety, the tension, and replacing it through relaxation and sleep promoting states. The first one that I'm going to walk you through is from Dr. Andrew Weil, and he's an evangelist for integrative medicine and famous for the 4-7-8 breathing technique. that you might have heard of before. So essentially what we do with the 4-7-8 breathing technique is that we breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose, you keep your breath for 7 seconds, and you swoosh out that air, that breath for 8 seconds through your mouth, okay? So let's do it here together. And please only do it with me right now if you're not driving and if you're in a safe environment to do so. So breathe in through your nose, 4 seconds. Keep your breath for 7 seconds. And breathe out, swoosh out for 8 seconds. Breathe in again, keep your breath, breathe out, and do that for 4 cycles. So it won't take you long to integrate this into your life, and it will have an effect right away. Dr. Weil recommends doing this twice a day, and he says the positive effect might take a few weeks to kick in. But from my own experience, I can tell you, like, if you do it, you will notice a positive, relaxing, calm effect right away. But if you want to, if you're looking after long-term results, as always in life, we'll say, then you need to implement it into your life on a regular basis. And you're going to just improve in becoming relaxed faster and faster. So that's technique number 1. And technique number 2 is actually not a real technique, but rather a general rule for you to play around with breathing. Typically, if you want to relax, you just need to know a few things. It's best to breathe in through your nose, out through your nose. Okay? Breathe in through your nose, out through your nose. Reduce your breathing. Try to get somewhere between 4 and 6 breaths per minute. And breathe in through your nose and breathe out slightly longer than you breathe in, right? In, and then maybe keep your breath for a second or two and breathe out. And you can repeat that over and over and over again. And you consciously do that. And at some point, you're going to notice that your autonomic nervous system will take over. It's just going to continue implementing that breathing pattern into your body, into your mind. And that's going to make it so much easier for you to feel relaxed, number 1, so you can do it at any time of the day. You don't only have to do this for your sleep, but if you do it in the evening and you're lying in your bed, you're just preparing yourself for a good night of sleep. So breathe in through your nose, out through your nose, breathe out slightly longer than you breathe in. See that you get somewhere between 4 and 6 breaths in per minute. So really slow down your breathing and breathe into your tummy, right? So you want to have a deep breath. And with deep, I always mean like into your tummy. Don't expand like a balloon. Like you don't have to pump your lungs up as if you're bursting. But, breathe slowly, breathe into your tummy, breathe out slightly longer. So it's a very simple process. And if you just stick to that, you will notice how fast you will feel much more comfortable, relaxed. You can move through your entire body when you do so to kind of loosen your muscles if you feel tension. That's all going to support you becoming and getting into that state that will make it so much easier to fall asleep. And just recently, I want to mention a tool I got sent from a company called Moonbird. I think they're quite new, and they have this little device you can put it into your hand, and it kind of expands and contracts, and you can follow it with your breath. So it's kind of a very interesting tool that will help you and motivate you to follow certain breathing patterns. Like they have a couple of pre-configured ones, some to promote sleep, some to get rid of anxiety. And you can also program it on your own. Say, I want to breathe in for 5 seconds, keep my breath for 2, breathe out for 7 seconds, whatever. You're free to do that too. I find it to be very interesting because you put this device into your hand and it kind of expands, and it's just so simple to follow with your breathing. When you feel that experience in your hand, it pumps up your hand, you breathe in, it contracts, you breathe out. So it's a very simple, straightforward process. And on top of that, which I found to be a very interesting feature, they measure your heart rate. You put your thumb on a little sensor, and it measures your heart rate variability, your coherence. So it's a very interesting tool. Might be interesting for you. Like, I will say, you do not need a device to practice breathing. Not at all. We all can do that. But if you want to level up, have something that might motivate you to do this more often or to get some additional data, then the Moonbird, I would really recommend checking it out. And just to give you a little bit more context around how powerful these breathing techniques are, when I help a client find back to superb sleep, I always follow the Sleeptrust sleep map. These are 9 coherent steps laid out based on best practices and sleep science that make it predictable for somebody to find back to superb sleep. And breathing techniques are hooked up to 3 of these steps. They're hooked up to step 4, where we're talking about sleep, core sleep, step 5, where it's about life or relationships, and step 6, when it's about work/stress. So very powerful. And if you're interested to find out more about the Sleeptrust sleep map, you can download the Sleeptrust sleep map for free. Go to sleeptrust.eu, and in the sleep resources, you're going to find the Sleeptrust sleep map, and you can download it and use it if you want to find back to superb sleep based on a proven system. And as always, it's up to you. You could say, Michael, I'm fine with the breathing techniques you showed to me. I'm going to introduce those into my life. Or if you're looking for a more complete system, you just move to sleeptrust.eu and download your free version of the Sleeptrust sleep map. And with that, let's wrap up this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast. If you have a hard time to fall asleep because you feel that there's tension, stress, or anxiety in your body and your mind, then breathing techniques are the number one place you want to turn to when it comes to finding a natural solution. Implementing a simple breathing technique like the 4-7-8 breathing technique from Dr. Weil, or consciously acting on your breathing as we walked through here together today, will help you to replace the stress, the tension, the anxiety through calmness and relaxation, and lay a solid foundation for a good night of sleep. And that's it for this week's episode of the Sleeptrust podcast. I hope you enjoyed yourself and that you bring these things into your life, and of course that you tune in next time. Until then, have a superb sleep.
Hey there, and thanks for listening to the Sleeptrust podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you want to get further information on this podcast or material that will help you to gain back your sleep trust, please check out sleeptrust.eu. That's sleeptrust.eu, where you will get lots of information around sleep. And here comes some legal stuff. Everything on this podcast is my opinion only, so do not take it as an advice, as I am not a doctor, nor have I considered your personal situation. If you feel that you need medical advice, please consider getting an appointment at your doctor of trust. If you want to give me any kind of feedback on this podcast, feel free to email me at podcast@sleeptrust.eu. I hope you tune in again next week, and until then, have a good sleep.